Hi and welcome to beautiful Barcelona. Today's video I'm going to show you all the best sights of this beautiful city. Let's check it out. Hi and welcome to this comprehensive video which is all about the stunning city of Barcelona. Situated on the beautiful Mediterranean coast of Spain, Barcelona is a city full of history, culture and breathtaking architecture. With its lively streets, colorful markets and delicious cuisine, Barcelona is a feast for the senses and a must-visit destination for travelers from all over the world. Whether you're looking to explore the city's famous landmarks, such as the Sagrada Família and Park Güell, or simply soak up the vibrant atmosphere of its neighborhoods, Barcelona has something for everyone. It's impossible to see all the many highlights in one day, and I recommend you spend at least 3 to 4 days in this amazing city. There's so much to see in Barcelona that I have segmented the video into 4 separate tours. Tour A will cover the medieval Latin Quarter and will take me all the way to Barceloneta Beach and beyond. Tour B will cover the ultra-modern Glorious Quarter and the Sagrada Família, one of the major highlights of any Barcelona visit. Tour C will take us to Gaudi's famous Park Güell and through the charming Gràcia neighborhood all the way down to Passeig de Gràcia with more famous Gaudi buildings. Tour D features the many amazing sightseeing highlights of Montjuïc. Watch the full video or jump to the tour you are most interested in, and stick around until the end for my recommendations on what to do in Barcelona at night. But let's get ready to discover the magic of this enchanting city and join me on an unforgettable journey through the streets of Barcelona. I'm now here at Plaça Catalunya, which is one of the major starting points of any tour in Barcelona. This is really a central square in Barcelona. Plaça Catalunya can be also described as the heart of Barcelona. This is the place from where you can access all the trams, buses and other modes of transportation to all the important places in the city. And of course there are many outlets of fast food chains like McDonald's and Burger King here. But you also find some prestigious boutiques in this square as well. Another thing that Plaça Catalunya is famous for are the many pigeons. Check those out. Just make sure that you watch out for the touts. There's lots of touts here that try to trick you with some roses, flowers, and other gimmicks that you want to avoid. All the major transport modes converge here at Plaça Catalunya. Plaça Catalunya might also be the first square that you arrive at when you come from the airport. The Aero bus from the airport stops here. There's one just coming. It's about a 15 to 20 minute ride. Depending on traffic, it can go up to half an hour from the airport. Very convenient and not too expensive. It's about €5 something, around $6 per person. But Plaça Catalunya is also a major converging point for the metro, and of course you find taxis here as well. What I found very convenient is that there is some touristic information booths where you can buy the tickets. I got myself the tickets online and I opted for the Barcelona card and the Gaudi bundle. This bundle is about 100 euros and includes many of the major museums and landmarks in Barcelona. For much of these, the entrance is free or you get a significant discount. The Barcelona card itself costs 48 euros, but does not include the Gaudi highlights, such as the Sagrada Família and Parc Güell. For that, the Gaudi bundle of the Sagrada Família and Parc Güell, you have to pay another 50 euros or so. And that includes the entrance and a skip the line ticket, but you'll have to pick a date and time slot for your visits. From Plaça Catalunya, you can already see La Rambla, which is one of the major boulevards and promenades that run towards the waterfront. It's quite a touristic boulevard, but nevertheless one of those things that you have to check out when you're in Barcelona. It's actually quite a nice walk, and you're going to be passing living statues, street performers, bird sellers and flower stands, cafes and waffle stands. I'm here now at a really interesting historical building that is not necessarily on many people's maps when they visit Barcelona, but I thought I'm going to show you this anyway, because I'm here at the Casa de la Maternitat, which is the old provincial house of maternity and foundlings of Barcelona. And until the late 19th century, mothers living in poverty didn't get much help, and there were very few social welfare models available for them. During the time of the industrial development, a lot of people, especially single women from rural areas, came to work in the factories around Barcelona. With that came a higher rate of so-called illegitimate births that brought about quite a bit of social stigma for these mothers. So many of them had to abandon their children. So this hole in the wall behind me was basically the place where new mothers could give away their newborn babies, and some caretakers would pick them up in the morning. The babies who were put into custody at this maternity home were later trained. The boys became shopkeepers usually, and the girls became domestic aides. Okay, let's head onwards to one of the biggest markets of Barcelona, and we're going to the Boqueria. So now I'm here at the Boqueria, this large market, and we're just gonna take a little bit of a look inside. This is probably the most well-known market in Barcelona, and this place is packed because all the tourists are coming here. This is probably less a market for locals and more a market for tourists. I'll show you later another market that's more for locals. But let's check this out and see what we can find. So inside of this market, it's a hot mess. You've seen how crowded that place is. I don't think I've heard any Spanish spoken in there, apart from the vendors. This is purely a tourist market. Having said that, it's quite colorful, and I do think it's a must-see to just wander through. If you're looking for a cheap deal, I don't think you're going to find that in this market. This is more for the eyes, and you may find some tapas here, but even that, I mean, I'm sure there's better places in the city for that. So just come here to take pictures, to stroll through, and to watch the display of the various colorful food items that you can find in this market. Okay, are you ready for yet another trip in Barcelona? Let's have a look. So this is the famous mural, "The World Begins with Every Kiss." It's a romantically named mural near the Cathedral of Barcelona. It was unveiled in 2014. The mural is a tribute to the Catalan lives lost, to regional identity and to freedom. It is made up out of 4,000 tiles with photos printed into mosaics by colors and density, so that from afar it actually looks like a kiss. The kiss is a symbol of affection, empathy and liberty, and this mural was so well received by the locals here that the local government has decided to keep it up. It was initially only meant to be a temporary mural, and it's still here since 2014. So my next stop is the Barcelona Cathedral, which is a really beautiful Gothic cathedral that is not only beautiful from the outside, but definitely check it out from the inside. For an extra fee, you can also head up to the tower, which I didn't do, but just going inside is for free, and it's definitely worth it. It's a beautiful cathedral. I love the ornamentation and the beautiful artwork in this cathedral. Let's have a look. So when you come to the Gothic quarter and you pass by the Place de Jaume, you get to this beautiful square which features an amazing structure, a monument that was dedicated to the Castellers, the people who built human towers. And this particular monument signifies or demonstrates rather the height of the highest human tower that was ever made. And you can see this barbed wire structure goes quite high into the air, and it's just a really cool sight. So if you get a chance to go to the Gothic quarter, check this out. It's really beautiful. I stumbled here on the square. On Sundays they have a money market. It's like ancient coins and paper bills that are for sale. If you're a sea and sailing fan, you may be interested in heading to the Museum Maritime de Barcelona, which is a maritime museum, quite large and extensive. Entrance fees 10 euros, about $11. But with the Barcelona card, you can get 20% off. I didn't go inside, but apparently they feature quite a bit of models of a variety of boats and a model of the old renovated shipyards. What's nice is that all the displays contain descriptions in 3 languages. And there's even an adjoining restaurant cafe in there. And on Sundays, the entrance is free, starting 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Right, I'm here now at the Jardins de Xemeneies, which is a gigantic outdoor museum of murals and graffiti, and it's absolutely free. You can just wander around. Every week there's a new artist that gets to paint one of the walls, and so this exhibition is constantly changing and provides a legal way for street graffiti artists to display their work. The park got its name from these 3 chimneys that are all that's left over from a former power plant that used to be here. But check out these beautiful murals. Let's have a look. end of the Rambla, you find the Columbus monument, the Mirador at Colom. This is a 60-meter tall monument that is topped by a bronze statue of Christopher Columbus, and it was placed at the site where Columbus landed upon returning from his first trip to the Americas. And you can actually go up there because there's a small elevator inside of this column, and provide some views over this part of Barcelona. As a fun fact is that the statue of Christopher Columbus is not pointing towards the New World, but possibly in the direction of Columbus' home city in Genoa. The visit to the observation deck is €6, about $6.50, but I understand it's only open in the mornings up to 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. The monument is of course not from the 15th century, but was built in 1888 for a world fair. If you continue across the street, you get to the continuation of the Rambla, and this part is called the Rambla de Mar. It's a really nice spot to view the harbor. From here you have a great view. You can see the big cruise ships over there, and the small cruise boats that take you across the harbor. The Rambla de Mar leads to a small mall, which seems to be on a peninsula or island over there. There's a bit of a bridge in the continuation of the Rambla.
Of the bridge is about to open. You will be unable to cross for approximately 5 minutes.
The interior of this mall is just a standard mall, so if you're into malls, by all means check it out. I'm just going to rest for a few moments because it's really scorching hot outside, and I like the air conditioning in here. Just behind the mall you find the aquarium of Barcelona. I'm not a big fan of aquariums, but if you're into that, by all means, it's right here. Okay, it's super hot here. I wish they had planted some trees on this walkway. Would have been really nice to walk under the shade. We're now heading back to the mainland. It is a peninsula, although it looks like it's an artificial one. And we're now heading back to the former port area. So here we're now at another interesting monument in Barcelona. This is called the El Cap de Barcelona, and it's a Liechtenstein sculpture that is just situated at the end of the Passeig de Colom. It's a major boulevard, and this statue is actually quite famous. In English it's called the Head because I guess it somewhat looks like a head. You know, I see some mouth and eyes with a little bit of fantasy. It's a smiling public figurehead, and it demands attention. It's 50 meters high, and one of the more colorful modernist sculptures by Liechtenstein, which he produced as a tribute to Gaudi. This beautiful building is the post office of Barcelona. It looks really nice. There's so much to see in Barcelona that one can easily forget that Barcelona is also a beach town. And I'm going to head to the beach now. Let's check that out. Barceloneta quarter, very close to the seaside, and this is a real old quarter of Barcelona and a favorite weekend destination for the locals here. I believe this part has been at some point in time seaside because the old sea walls are behind me, way behind me.
Let's head over to the França station, which is generally seen as the city's most beautiful train station. Even if you're not planning to take a train, it is worth seeing in its own right, for the restrained mix of classical and more modern style that includes Art Deco motifs. After the last 3 decades, it has been eclipsed as Barcelona's main station, but Estació de França remains the second busiest railway station of the city after the Sants. It may however soon lose this status, as Estació de la Sagrera will take over most of the traffic.
There's so much to see in this beautiful city, incredible. And we're gonna head to yet another highlight. Let's have a look. But what's astonishing is that no matter where you go, there's always history here. And here's the Basilica de Maria del Mar, which is also quite beautiful. Let's have a quick look in here.
Por los pescadores, por los marineros, por todos los que trabajan en el mar, en esta semana en la que celebramos la fiesta de la Virgen del Carmen. Oremos.
Behind the Basilica de Santa Maria del Mar, you'll find this red arc here, which could easily get unnoticed, but there's actually an eternal flame burning on top of this monument, and that monument is called the Fossar de las Moreras, and it's dedicated to the Catalunya martyrs who fought against the Spanish in the early 18th century. In 1714 they got defeated, and this eternal flame keeps their memory alive, and that speaks a little bit to the interesting and somewhat painful history between Catalunya and the rest of Spain. The monument recalls the fall during the War of the Spanish Succession, where the people of Barcelona resisted the siege and attack on the city by King Felipe V, who was at the time allied with the French crown. The reason why you find this monument at the square is that many of the fallen defenders of the siege were buried here on this square, and this monument was put in place here not that long ago, about 20 years or so, and I find it quite beautiful, and it contrasts with the old church walls of the basilica behind. Okay, with that we're now heading to my next destination. Let's have a look. I'm now heading to a museum that is dedicated to one of the most famous artists of Spain, and you probably already guess who that is. We're of course talking about Pablo Picasso, and there's a museum that's just dedicated to his work, especially to his early life, and we're going to check that out now. So the Picasso Museum is really absolutely amazing. You have to check that out. It's really a tour through the painter's early days in his life with a focus on his early art and the progress he made. It's always stunning to see how advanced he was at a very early age and how over time his artwork became more fragmented and, in my view, more interesting, more experimental. The museum is much larger than I thought it would be, and it's definitely a highlight of any visit here in Barcelona. Make sure you check that out. The entrance is free if you have the Barcelona card. Otherwise, I believe the entrance is 12 euros, about $13. So just a short walk from the Picasso Museum, you get to the Parque de la Ciutadella, which is a beautiful park that was developed for the Universal Exhibition in 1888. And it's really quite a nice park, large, with lots of shade and greenery. With a greenhouse that stems from that era. Not in very good shape, but I think it's being redone. And you got a fountain. And really just beautiful, lush green garden that invites to relax. Today's a hot, sunny day. And there's quite a few people out in the park picnicking and chilling on the lawn. So this castle-looking building that looks actually quite old also dates back to the 1888 World Fair. And at the time it was built as a restaurant cafe for the exhibition. And the name it has is pretty cool. It's the Castle of the Three Dragons. So here's a glorietta dedicated to the transsexual Sonia, who was brutally murdered in 1991 by neo-Nazis because of her gender identity. This was put together by the city of Barcelona to commemorate her and as a sign of tolerance. Look at that massive spring fountain. What a cool spring fountain. I haven't seen such a fountain in a long time. Beautiful. Okay, I really like this park. It's so beautiful. There's a mammoth over there, and you have a lake with rowing boats and lots of shade. Really cool. absolutely spectacular boulevard here, leading from this beautiful park that we just visited to the Arc de Triomphe of Barcelona, which was also built for the 1888 Universal Exhibition. And it's one of those iconic photo spots in Barcelona, so when you're here, I think you have to come here. And this is really beautiful. And it's so large. This boulevard is large. The only thing I wish it had here in the center, a little bit more shade. But you can find shade in the two walkways that line this major boulevard here in Barcelona. Alright, that was cool, and we're going to continue to my next destination. Let's have a look. So if the Boqueria Market was too crowded and busy for you, I have another tip for you, and that is the Santa Catarina Market. The Santa Catarina Market is much quieter and less touristy, and has also many eateries inside and around. The produce is much more affordable here, and you can tell that the locals are actually buying their food here. The star of the market is without a doubt its colorful, wavy rooftop, and you should definitely check that out when you're here. Santa Catalina Market used to be a monastery, and there have been excavations that date back to 1223, and the convent was closed in the 19th century, and the city of Barcelona opened a market there. So the market is quite historical now, and has been around for over 150 years. The recent rooftop remodeling was done in the early 2000s, and that gives the market now its modern look. But what's nice is it's a combination of the old architecture and some of the new elements. Unfortunately, we can't go inside because the market is closing at 3:30, and I was a little bit late, but do check out this market. It looks really beautiful from the inside, and definitely worth the trip. Alright, and we're going to continue our tour, and I have another highlight in store for you, so let's check it out. Alright, I'm now at the Palau de la Música Catalana, which is quickly becoming my favorite building in all of Barcelona. What a beautiful, beautiful concert hall. It must be one of the most beautiful concert halls I've ever seen, actually. This turn of the century concert hall that is held in the Art Nouveau style is another UNESCO listed heritage site. It was built by Gaudi's contemporary, Luis Domènech Montaner, and it was built for the Orfeo Català, which was the Barcelona Choral Society. What's so stunning about this building is that you can actually go on a self-guided tour as well as guided tours, and you'll see all the various dimensions of this concert hall, from the downstairs ground floor area up to the balcony on the second floor. And it's just a fabulous, fabulous piece of architecture with all the rich ornamentation, the beautiful stained glass windows that get some lights through the top and the sides into the concert hall, and I imagine the acoustics must be spectacular. Entrance to this tour is 15 euros. With the Barcelona card you get 25% off, so I paid a little bit over 11 euros, which is about $12 or so. Make sure you come in time because the entrance closes every day at 3 p.m. as they prepare for the evening performances. If you get a chance, you can also book a ticket for an evening performance. And while I imagine that the tickets are not the cheapest you can buy here in Barcelona, I'm sure they're absolutely worth it. Just the venue itself makes for a fantastic location for a concert. And if you don't make it in time for the interior of this building, do yourself a favor and check out the exterior, because the exterior is absolutely gorgeous too. Again, design in the Art Nouveau style, Jugendstil inspired, very much reminiscent of Gaudi and his contemporaries, and decorated with intricate mosaics and beautiful, beautiful decorations throughout. Alright, from this amazing highlight of my visit to Barcelona, let's continue our tour to yet another really cool site. Check it out. Now here at the Avinguda del Portal del L'Angel, which is a major shopping pedestrian street and quite busy, even on a Sunday. Major department stores and fashion brand stores have their Barcelona outlets here. And it leads to the Plaça de Catalunya, which we've already visited earlier. What's so cool here is the architecture. I really like the beautiful contrast between the old buildings and some of the newer architectural designs.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed my first tour. Let's jump right into the second tour that will take us to the ultra-modern Glorious Quarter and the Sagrada Família, one of the major highlights of any Barcelona visit.
So I have a knack for design museums and art museums, as you can maybe tell from my videos, and this is another one that I highly recommend you visit. It's beautifully curated and presented. The architecture is amazing and there's so much to see here. You can spend hours in this museum. So this museum is a design temple here. There's so much to see on 3 floors. There are 2 temporary exhibitions downstairs and the permanent collection. And it's just massive. You can spend hours in this museum. Entrance is €6, about $6.50. but on Sundays, starting 3 p.m, entrance is free. So that's kind of a nice bonus if you come here on a Sunday afternoon. You don't pay any entrance at all, and you can spend pretty much the rest of the Sunday afternoon in this museum. Just behind the Design Museum you get to see the Torre Glòries, which is a cone-shaped modern tower that reminds me a little bit of the Gherkin in London. Check this out. I didn't think one can visit inside, but it's just a cool sight from the outside, and I read that it's really beautiful at night as well, because the panels that you can see there, they get illuminated in the evening, so there must be some color shifting patterns going on in the evening. And that's literally opposite the Design Museum, which is just behind me. So this is the ultra modern part of Barcelona, and you can tell much of this architecture has been developed in very recent years, and it's still under development because there's some construction sites just across the street. Such a cool building. From here we can see the Sagrada Família, so we're not too far away from that either. There's several ways of how you can reach the Glòries. I took the metro, the L1 metro line goes here, but there's also a tramway that connects to Glòries. So I made it to the Sagrada Família. The best way to get there from the Glòries Tower is via metro or bus. I took the metro, and as expected, I'm not alone here. There's lots of people that had the same idea. So Sagrada Família is a must-see when you're in Barcelona, and usually my recommendation would be to come here early in the morning. It's first tickets of the day are sold for 9 o'clock, but unfortunately when I looked online those were already gone, so I now opted for an afternoon ticket, and yeah, it's tough. So this is obviously one of the highlights of any Barcelona visit. Gaudi's Sagrada Família, a minor basilica that he got involved with 140 years ago, and it's up to today. It's not finished, they're still building it. It's about 3/4 ready, but what you see is just absolutely stunning and impressive, exterior and interior. And I'm just going to show you both some impression from the exterior, and then we're going to go inside and have a look as well. The Sagrada Família combines several architectural styles, including Catalan modernism, Art Nouveau, and Spanish late Gothic. And depending on what side you're standing on, the styles change. Much of the Gothic facade was still completed by Gaudi himself, while the more austere modernist side was later added, according to his designs though. The church interior is defined by columns that stretch like tree branches all the way up to the ceiling. There's several nature patterns and even small little details like the doors got inspired by nature. Gaudi's plans also called for 18 spires, and only 8 of those are complete up to date. But there's numerous towers already that are visible, chapels, portals, and various other interior features have already been completed. Once it's built, the tallest spire, which symbolizes Jesus Christ, will secure Sagrada Familia's place as the world's largest church building. As of today, it's estimated that the construction will continue all the way into the 2040s. But even now, and while it's incomplete, the church sees about 2.8 million visitors every year. It's absolutely stunning. My tip is to get an online ticket, and that way you can avoid the crowds by getting the skip the line ticket for a fast track entrance. That's about 33 euros, and what I did is I combined it with the Gaudi bundle, which was a little less than 45 euros. So all in all, a great deal and an absolutely must-see when you come to Barcelona. But let's get a few more impressions from this absolute masterpiece of Antoni Gaudi.
After this highlight, let's jump directly to my third tour of this video, which will take us to Gaudi's famous Barquel and through the charming Gràcia neighborhood, all the way down to the Passeig de Gràcia with more famous Gaudi buildings. The starting point of this tour will be the Lesseps metro station, which is closest to Park Güell.
I'm now heading to the next highlight of our tour, and that is Park Güell, which is one of the masterpieces of Antoni Gaudí. A beautiful park settled in one of the hills above Barcelona, and you have to get way up to get here. So the walkways are quite steep to get to the entrance, but I think the views from up here will make up for that. And more stairs. Park Güell is a park that is full of colorful mosaics, fountains, serpentine walkways, sculptures, and they're all in the distinctive Gaudi style. Let me tell you a little bit more about the park. Gaudi built this park between 1900 and 1914, and that was part of his naturalist phase. It was initially designed as part of a private city that was supposed to create residences and private homes for about 60 families, but this housing project failed, and it was then turned into a municipal park, which opened to the public in 1924. You'll also find Gaudi's former home here, where he lived between 1906 and 1926. And that can be visited for an extra fee. I didn't go in there, but it's basically showing some of his personal artifacts and furniture in that house. Park Güell is now a UNESCO Heritage Site. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984. At the park entrance they give you a little leaflet with the map of the park, and that should help you get around. Those columns that hold the upper terrace, they almost look like a cathedral here. Reminds me a little bit of the Sagrada Família, just not as high. But look at those mosaics that were put in the ceiling. It's really beautiful. Those mosaics are just stunning, really beautiful. And as a pro tip, come early to the park, because then it's not so crowded here. During the daytime it gets really busy here. The park is a one-time entry, so once you're inside you can't get outside and back in again. So make sure that you make good use of your time while you're in the park. Let's walk around a little bit more and explore the dreamlike scenery here in those landscape gardens with the beautiful flower beads and the pretty fairy tale-like stone structures that line the hills here. I'm now here in the section that is called the Austrian Gardens. Lots of flower beads, really beautiful. This is a beautifully landscaped garden, but not overly landscaped. And it contains nice flower beads, olive trees. I recommend you book your tickets in advance. There's an online site where you can do that, and that will help you to skip the line. But you do have to know when you go, because the slots for the tickets are in half-hour increments, and if you miss your half-hour slot, basically you forfeited your ticket. So make sure you come in time. What's nice about this place is that it doesn't get too crowded inside of the park. They only let in about 400 people every half hour. Entrance to the park is 10 euros, about $11, and it's absolutely worth it. The views from up here are really magical, and the park itself is just so nice. As a pro tip, bring some water with you when you're here in the summer months. It gets really hot. So another pro tip, come early, because during the day it gets really crowded. I came here at 9 and it was still okay, but now it's about 10:30 and it's really packed. Apparently they only let in 400 people per half hour, but it feels definitely more than 400 people in there. So when you're in Park Güell, you can also visit the Gràcia quarter, which is just below it. And this is a really interesting part of the city because up until the 20th century it wasn't even part of Barcelona. It feels more like a small village in Catalunya. Let's check it out. The Gràcia quarter is a really young and happening part of the city. There's lots of cafes and artists and bohemians used to live there and probably still live there to some degree, although I imagine that prices have gone up over the past 50 years or so. But the Gràcia quarter prides itself to still have a neighborhood feel, and they celebrate that regularly with fiestas and street fairs. And in August they have the Fiesta Mayor, which is their main street fair. And unfortunately I won't be able to be here during that time, but it must be quite special. So here's an interesting steel structure which must be from an old industrial building or market, and there seems to be a petition from the locals here to turn this into a green space rather than a commercial space. So I guess in a few years from now we will know what this is going to be looking like. But I do like this old steel structure. It must be turn of the century, and all that's left are the steel bars. Everything else has been gutted, and that's in the middle, the center of the Gràcia quarter, so prime real estate, I guess. What I like about the Gràcia quarter is all the small stores and shops. They're family run. You get grocery shops, bookshops, barber shops, small fashion boutiques, shoe stores, and all kinds of places where you can buy some small knick-knack. I'm now here at the Plaça de la Vila de Gràcia, and there's a beautiful tower standing here, and I just really like the vibes of this square. There's several cafes and bistros, and people are just chilling. And the trees give enough shade to cover the park benches, which is always a plus. And I think I'm just gonna relax a little bit here now and check out the beautiful facades that frame the square. So the Campanario de Gràcia was built in 1864, and it contains a spring fountain at the bottom. It's 33 meters high, about 108 feet. And it's quite beautiful. It almost looks like a lighthouse, but it's just a tall clock tower in the middle of a square. This street is a little bit more busy. I'm now at the Avinguda Diagonal, which is a major street here in Barcelona. Check out this architecture here. Isn't that beautiful? It looks like this is a hotel now. But check out the buildings on both sides of this Avinguda. Really beautiful, and you can tell some of the classicistic and Art Nouveau features that those buildings have. Make sure you also check out the backside of the building, which might be even more beautiful. Look at the intricate mosaics here, really nice. Most of the windows have their blinds down, but you can still see some of the beautiful windows held in the Art Nouveau style including the organic shapes of the rooftop and the balconies. Very cool. Unfortunately, you can't get inside of the building. It's privately owned, but you can admire the facade from the outside. Definitely worth a quick stop over here. And we're going to now head over to the Passeig de Gràcia, the major boulevard here in Barcelona. At the entrance of the Passeig de Gràcia, you'll find the Palau Robert. The Palau Robert is an older palace that has been turned into a museum, and the museum entrance is free of charge, and they always feature really cool exhibitions. Let's see what's in store today. Behind the Palau you'll find an oasis of greenery, a small park that is really beautiful as well. It seems to continue as an exhibition space because of lots of panels as well. But what's nice is there's several park benches, and this place provides some welcome shade. It's noontime here and the sun is hot. That's interesting. It's an exhibition, everything that is not eaten. So it looks like we're talking about food waste. So the exhibition documents food shortage, and it shows here on those plates the percentage of the population that is at risk of food insecurity. And in Catalunya, that's almost 22%. While in the overall European Union, that's 17%. %50 of the population are obese. I don't know whether that's in Europe or whether that's specifically in Spain or Catalunya. Doesn't say here. So this is a neat little exhibition. Not very large, but definitely an interesting surprise. I just learned a lot about food. Barcelona continues to surprise. Let's get back on the Passeig de Gràcia and we're going to continue our journey. Another important building designed by Gaudi is the Casa Milà. It's also known as the Pedrera, and the front of the building looks a bit like a face of a quarry. The Casa Milà was completed in 1912 and is yet another iconic Gaudi building. It was originally designed for the industrialist Pere Milà i Camps to be his family home, with apartments for rent on the upper floors. Again, the entrance is not cheap, but you can admire the building from the outside. I'm now here at the Passeig de Gràcia, which is a large boulevard in the middle of Barcelona that is pretty much the Champs-Élysées of Barcelona. And it's a beautiful tree-lined avenue that features some of the most celebrated and recognizable architecture in Barcelona. And of course you'll find here Gaudi's Casa Batlló and Casa Milà. But there's also quite a few modernist townhouses and hotels. And if you're into shopping at renowned brand name stores, this is the place to go. It's probably not going to be the cheapest shopping that you can do in Barcelona, but it might be fun even for window shopping. Let's have a look. Casa Batlló is one of Gaudi's most famous architectural pieces. Its appearance resembles a little bit an animal with the various bone-like structures. The locals also know it as the House of Bones. The house was originally built in 1877 and purchased by the middle-class Batlló family in 1900. But the building was initially very boring, and in 1904 Gaudi was commissioned to redesign the facade and interior of the structure. And that's what we're seeing today. The base level looks a bit as it was gridded by huge abstract bones, while the upper part is a little bit more chaotic and organic, with abstract patterns echoing blood vessels and muscle and nature patterns. The roof section almost looks like a giant dragon. Now the bad part about this building is that the entrance is quite steep. It's not part of the Barcelona card, so you have to pay 35 euros, about $37–38. You're going to get a €3 discount on that ticket with the Barcelona card, but nevertheless, it's still on the pricey side.
This marks the end of Tour C. You're not far from the Plaça de Catalunya. From there, you can take the L3 metro to the Parallel station, from where you can take the funicular up to the Montjuïc mountain. The mountain station is a great starting point for our Tour D, which covers the many unforgettable highlights of this beautiful part of Barcelona.
So I made my way to the city district of Montjuïc, which is yet another highlight of any visit in Barcelona. There's much to see on this mountain, and I'll just show you a little bit of my view that I get right now. Have a look. The city district of Montjuïc
was developed for the 1929 International Exhibition and features several high-profile museums, including the National Museum of Catalan Art, the Museum of Archaeology, and the Ethnological Museum. The highlight might be the Art Museum, but even if you're not super into fine art, just looking at the architecture from the outside and the beautiful gardens and spring fountains is just amazing. As a bonus, you have a beautiful view from up there. I'm going to take you a little bit on a walk through the gardens behind the palace. The next stop is the Joan Miró Foundation, which is of course another must-see here in Barcelona. Like Antoni Gaudi, Joan Miró is a quintessential Catalonian artist and is one of the major contemporary artists of the world. The Joan Miró Foundation was set up by the artist himself in the 60s to encourage contemporary art in Barcelona and Catalunya. And Miró at the time worked very closely with the architect Josep Louis Sert on the museum architecture. And even up today, the art and the architecture harmonize beautifully together, and it's absolutely a must-see. Even if you're not a big fan of Joan Miró, I think this little museum it's actually not that little, it's quite extensive for a collection of one artist, and it's absolutely beautiful and I loved it. So if you get a chance, check it out when you're here in Barcelona. Let's have a look. If you like parks, here's another one, the Jardins de Laribal. Jardins de Laribal is at Montjuïc Mountain, and it's really beautiful. It's a very serene garden. Used to be a former estate and has now been turned into a public park. And what I like about this garden and park is that there's lots of shade, nice trees, and beautiful views that you get all around in this garden. Come here if you visit the Fundación Joan Miró, because this is very close to that museum, and it's a beautiful walk that you don't want to miss.
at the Montjuïc Palace, the palace which was built for the 1929 Expo. Like most of the Montjuïc monuments here, they all date back to the same time. This expansive neo-Baroque palace houses now the National Art Museum of Catalunya. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it because they already closed at 6 p.m. in the evening, and I was just a little late. But I read it's super nice. It has a really expansive collection of art, and it's recommended to check it out. Entrance is about $12, which includes the entry to the building, the visit of the permanent collection and current temporary exhibitions, as well as access to the rooftop terrace. But even if you don't go inside of the museum, the views from up here are just stunning. Check this out. It's a pretty spectacular view. You see those 4 columns in the foreground, and behind that directly the magic fountain, which is lit at night, and there's apparently a nice light show which should be really cool. I hope I get to see that too. So my next stop is the Mies van der Rohe Pavilion, which is a bit tucked away on the side of the Grand Plaza. Its architecture is really beautiful. While it's a replica of the original design, it's still worth seeing. We're gonna check it out. The original design was created in 1929, and this particular building was reconstructed in 1983. It's such a clean and beautiful space, and quite soothing and calming. So there's essentially 1 and I think 2 rooms. So the entire house is 2 rooms with kind of a garden space with a pond, and the space is empty. There's nothing inside, just a few chairs. So I'm not gonna lie, this is a beautiful place, very clean architecture, modernist, very, very nice. But you can walk this in a minute or 2. It's tiny. It looks nice, but it's not worth €8, and I paid €6 because I get a reduction with the Barcelona card. But nevertheless, even for €6, I feel I have been taken advantage of. So I'm a big fan of modern architecture, but this is just too much. Unless you're an absolute architecture buff, I would say you skip on this one. But if you are, and if you're a fan of Mies van der Rohe, you want to do it anyway. So I'm now at the Caixa Forum, which is a cultural place that features lots of eclectic exhibitions. It's kind of an art space that features unorthodox topics. I've been to the Caixa Forum in Mallorca, in Palma, where they had an exhibition on an Art Nouveau artist, as well as the moon landing And now here in Barcelona, this month's exhibition is around tattoos. And so they always have some interesting stuff. Check it out. The Caixa Forum is just around the corner from the Plaça de España. The entrance to the Caixa Forum is €6. With the Barcelona card, the entrance is free. They open in the evening until 8 o'clock, so definitely worth a visit. And it's free if you have the Barcelona card, so do check it out. Alright, I have now reached the Plaça de España and the Torres Venecianes. Those towers are of course super eye-catching and very much inspired by the tower that you can find on the San Marco Square in Venice. The Torres Venecianes are 47 meters high and have a 7-meter cross-section each. This is a beautiful area, lots of space and really elegantly designed. Much of this was done for the 1929 exposition, and up to today this is just a marvelous space that people in Barcelona and many tourists come visit every year.
If you're not too tired yet, please join me on a night walk on the Rambla and Plaça Reial. Barcelona seems to never sleep and the city remains a vibrant place even at night. In fact, taking a walk in the evening hours is particularly nice as the temperatures are much more manageable. Are you ready for a late night dinner? Dinner time in Barcelona, just like in most places in Spain, is somewhat later than in most countries I've visited. Let's head into the side streets of the Gothic quarter for some authentic Spanish cuisine. Don't leave Barcelona without having at least once tried a paella and the many fresh and yummy seafood and salad platters. The food here is simply delicious. Alright, so here we go. This is my comprehensive Barcelona video guide with 40 places to see in Barcelona. If you have more ideas on things to see in Barcelona, please add them to the comments below. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope I see you in my next travel video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.